Hello, it's Wendi Lanham and Crosbie Lorimer here from Balcaddy Media, and it's Layday here in Hamilton Island Race Week. We had a lovely day yesterday out in the water. It was really exciting to see all the fleets starting and finishing in Dent Passage, which made for great viewing, particularly as they sort of headed north and some headed south. But you saw all these beautiful spinnakers and yachts crossing in front of each other, which was really lovely.
Yeah, beautifully backlit, big grey clouds and beautiful sunshine. Showed plenty of colour in the photos, which was excellent.
Yeah, it was lovely. It was a little bit light on the breeze compared to the first 2 days. And speaking of breeze, we also had a chat today with Nick Bodewin, who's the North Sales Service Centre Manager. Did I get that right?
You did.
Service Centre. Yep, got that. And he was talking about that already they've done between 50 and 60 repairs, and that's just from the first 3 days. And ahead of us is looking like a very windy next 3 days, so they're expecting many more repairs to happen there. You're also talking about the construction of the sails with Nick and discussing the various materials that they use. Do you want to talk a little bit more about what he was saying to you?
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise for me because we all see these black sails and we assume they're all, carbon fundamentally because that's the contemporary sail material. But he said most of them actually have up to 4 materials in them. So the carbon, Kevlar and Spectra, they're all sort of high-end fibres and so on, but also there's still a lot of polyester in there as well, and of course it's economical. The big difference between the polyester and the rest, of course, is that the polyester stretches quite a bit. The Spectra, Kevlar and carbon, of course, are all sort of largely pretty strong and pretty stable. The good thing about it is that you can have a black sail with a lot of polyester in, and it's cheap, and it still looks exactly like the one that's nearly all carbon. So very equal in the opportunity there. And as a complete aside to that, black is an absolute menace for photographers because on certain lights it just blows out all of the exposures because it just gets on the black. So yeah, look, if it were to progress into a slightly less dark colour, I'd be perfectly happy. That was good, though.
Yeah, it was an interesting chat. So as I mentioned, it's Layday here in Hamilton Island, so which means obviously no racing today. Lots of relaxing for the sailors, which also leads to quite a lot of partying that normally happens on Layday. I'm sure there's lots of people having a great time at the pool party. But we should probably talk about the fact that the next 3 days are extremely windy. So I hope the sailors don't party too hard, or if they do, they're prepared for a full-on 3 days. So we're 3 days in, 3 days to go. Cros, do you want to tell us a little bit about who's in the lead at the moment? I know a lot can still change in 3 days, but who's caught your eye so far?
Well, I thought it was probably only fair to do a little bit of a rundown of a number of these. I might just take the microphone. It'll probably be a little bit easier. And yes, so 3 blowy days ahead. One of the tests very often in Hamilton Island at Race Week is whether you get varying conditions, because that tends to prove who's really good in the strong and the light. This regatta is probably going to favour those who are good strong wind sailors, and I don't doubt there'll be quite a lot of changes in results in the next few days. There's going to be some fairly sloppy sea in a few places as well. So I'm going to, if people will bear with me, just because it takes a bit to kind of find your way through the results on the site. So I'm just going to summarise as quickly as I can, pretty much top to bottom. So the IRC, that's the rating classes. In Alive, Duncan Hine is doing really well. He's had 3 wins out of 3, so that's a pretty good start. In IRC2, likewise, David Doherty's Matador's done really well, a 2-1 and 1. That's pretty encouraging. But not far behind him is Bill Barry Cotter's Maritimo and Peter White's First Light. IRC3, the Red Boat, Jared McCart's Red Boat, leading there with a 1-1 and 2, so that's pretty impressive. With Gauntlet, Peter Milliken's Gauntlet doing well, and then under ORC, the new Matt's 1220 from Jerry Hatton, which is a very good-looking boat, black and white, if you've seen that one. Ray Roberts is a bit of a regular here, and of course he's doing really well with his Team Hollywood in Division 4. Just ahead of Kukachoo, David Ross. In fact, actually they're tied on 5, so that's going to be 5 points, so that's going to be interesting. So we get into the Hamilton Island division. So this is all of the sort of the non-ratings, the handicap divisions, and there's so many of them, they divide them into colours. So the blue, David Beck's Journey is leading. And I think on the ORC, it's David Kellett, Sydney, I think, yes, from Marcus Blackmore's new Ammonite. Very beautiful looking fast cruiser racer. Looks more racer than cruiser to me, but I'm told it's pretty specky below. And he's absolutely loaded with talent on that boat. He's got Malcolm Page, and I think I saw Victor Kovalenko amongst others, so-called medal maker from many years ago. So expect them to do well in the end. In the orange division, Rick Rogers and David Stoopman's L'Esprit is leading that. Well done them. In the pink division, James Manning's Enigma, and I think just 1 point ahead of the veteran and the regular Zoe, and indeed I think she's tied in second place with Wedgetail. Purple division, Roadrunner, Paul Hayes leading that one, and I think it's CCM and Arctic Blonde from Peter Cook. One of the things about this is when we're doing results is if you've got a lot of sponsors, that's a very long name to say out. So short names, you're likely to get more attention. Yellow division, Lama 2, John Linton's Sydney-based boat going really well there, just a point ahead of Odyssey. And then in the non-spinnakers, everybody, you're inclined to think non-spinnakers, so that's not super competitive. Over the years, the battle at the top of the non-spinnakers has been serious stuff. And I mean, people are racing properly. They may not have a kite, but they're racing well. So at the moment, it's Greg Davis. He's 6 points clear of number 2, which is Scarborough in hot chili, so that's great. And then in the trailables, in the last of the monohulls, I mentioned the Shore skiff-like boat by Justin Brownhill, but I didn't mention the name of the boat, which is Barely Legal, and they're doing really well. They're just 1 point ahead of Halcyon, Michael Goss's boat. So lastly, we shouldn't forget the multi-hulls, because there's plenty of them. And in multi-hull black division, it's Rob Inguida's Coconuts, and she's 5 points clear of Wind Cheetah, Darren Drew's boat. And in the OMR, so that's a sort of another rating band, because there's all sorts of different rating bands, it's Dale Mitchell's very impressive Orma 60 Rex. And then finally in the multi-hull white division, we've got Mal Billings' Sea Dragon leading that division there. And I think he's 6 points clear of Twin Spirits, so that's pretty impressive. So there's a few people who are showing pretty good hallmarks of getting well ahead, but there's those that are probably going to find it pretty hard work, and yes, the less partying, the better the results in all likelihood. I'll leave you with the wrap.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. I hope everybody's enjoying Layday. We may not get an update to you tomorrow because we have a jam-packed day, but we'll be bringing you much content, as I'm sure the next 3 days are going to be action-packed. So we look forward to seeing you. Thanks.
See you then.